ಕೊನೆಯ ತರಗತಿಯ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಎ ಸ್ಪೋಕನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ಗೆ ಆದರದ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಮಿತ್ರರೇ, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ನ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ 5 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ 7 ದ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಬಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ಯಾಲೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಈ ಒಂದು ಅಧ್ಯಾಯದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೋತ್ತರಗಳನ್ನು ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಸಾಗೋಣ. ಇಲ್ಲಿಯವರೆಗೆ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ನೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಚಾನಲ್ ಆಗಿರುವ ಎ ಸ್ಪೋಕನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ಗೆ ನೀವಿನ್ನೂ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಆಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲ 5ನೇ ತರಗತಿಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಾಠದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಉತ್ತರಗಳ ಒಂದು ಲಿಂಕನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿವರಣೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪಾಠಗಳ ಒಂದು ಲಿಂಕನ್ನು ನಾನು ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋದ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ನೋಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಬನ್ನಿ ಒಂದು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು, ಈಗ ಮೊದಲ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನು ನೋಡೋಣ. Choose the most appropriate answers. The man entrusted his property to his slaves because he was going on a journey. The slave who got 5 talents decided to trade with them. Third one, the slave who got 1 talent hid it in a hole because he thought that his master was a harsh man. Answer the following questions in 2-3 sentences each. Why did the man give talents to his slaves? God has placed each one of us on this earth for the express purpose of using our talents, not for ourselves but for the glory of God, and this frequently includes helping others financially. So the man gave talents to his slaves. What did the slave do with their talents? The first 2 slaves used their talents, thus multiplying them, but the one who had only 1 talent did not use it but simply buried or hid in the ground. How did the master appreciate the first slave? The master praised and first slave by saying that he had done a good deed and that he was a good and trustworthy slave. The master put the first slave in charge of many things and welcomed him into the joy of his master. How was the third slave published? The master took away the only talent in the first slave and gave it to the one with the 10 talents. Writing. What did the second slave do with the talents and how was he rewarded? The master gave 2 talents to second slave, who, when the second slave had received the 2 talents, went off at once, had traded with them, and made 2 more talents. When his master came and saw the second slave's talents, his master said to him, "Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master." How did the first and second slaves impress their master? The first and second slaves impressed their master like the master gave 5 talents to the first slave and 2 talents to the second slave, to each according to his ability. Then master went away. The first slave had received 5 talents, went off at once and traded with them, and made 5 more talents. In the same way, the second slave had the 2 talents, made 2 more talents. Like this way, the first and second slave impressed their master. Why do you think that the master got angry with the third slave? The master got angry with the third slave because the third slave had received only 1 talent but went off and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's talent. When the master came back and asked him what he had done with his talent, the third slave replied that he knew that his master was a harsh man, who reaped where he did not sow and gathered where he did not scatter. But the master expected the slave would have invested his money with the bankers, and after he returned would have received his own money with interest. Do you find any difference between the attitudes of the three slaves in the parable? Discuss. In the parable, the three slaves show their attitude. The first slave had received 5 talents from his master and went off at once and traded with them and made 5 more talents uh, and traded with them and made for more talents. This is the first slave's ability. The second slave had received 2 talents from his master and went off at once and traded with them and made 2 more talents. This is second slave ability. And the third slave had received 1 talent, went off and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. He did not use his ability and he was a lazy person. His master gave his talent to his slaves according to slave's ability. So dear students, next question. What would you have done if you are in the place of third slave? When I had received 1 talent, I would have at once traded with them and made 1 more talent and impressed the master when he came back. The master took 1 talent from the third slave and gave it to the one who already had 5. Do you find it a strange thing? The master took 1 talent from the third slave and give it to the first slave because the master knew his slave's abilities. That's why he gave first slave to 5 talents. He said the second slave to 2 talents and the third slaves to the 1 talent according to their ability. Reaping where you did not sow and gathered where you did not scatter seed. What do you understand by this statement? The statement means that someone has done the hard work of sowing the seeds, but someone else is reaping the harvest. It means that a person is benefiting from other people's work, i.e., someone else is sowing and scattering the seeds, and some other person is harvesting the crop. Grammar. Using the dictionary, write the past form of the verb given below. Eat, ate, fly, flew, move, moved, live, left, leapt, live, lived, go, went, read, read, attend, attend, prepare, prepared, visit, visited, play, played, watch, watched, bring, brought, know, knew, listen, listened, write, wrote, walk, walked, pray, prayed, enjoy, enjoyed, see, saw. Here is a letter by Sneha to her father. Trip to Nandi Hills with her friends. Dear father, we went to the Nandi Hills yesterday. There were 30 students in the party. We traveled by bus. We left school at 9 a.m. We reached Nandi at 10 a.m. On the way, we saw on both sides of the road tall trees, thick bushes, and monkeys too. The road was smooth. We played games, took rest 3 hours. We returned 5 p.m. All of us enjoyed the trip. Yours lovingly, Sneha. We write the following sentence using the past form of the verb given underlined. The cobbler mended the shoe. My English teacher taught me the letters of the alphabet. Raghu painted the picture. They kept their pet animals in the separate place. Those men enjoyed watching TV always. Write 7 or 8 sentences. I got up 5 o'clock. I brushed my teeth. I refresh myself. I pray and meditate. I do my homework. I get dressed in my uniforms. I have my breakfast. I put my shoe on. Write in 5 or 6 sentences. My mother boils the water, add the coffee, add the sugar, pour in the hot water, add some milk, stir the coffee and serve it. This is what Shankar of class 9 did in his school. Yesterday Shankar attended the English class. He visited the science lab. He read a book in English from the library. He listened to his science teacher and he had lunch with his friends. After coming back to her house, he did problems in arithmetic and wrote practical records, and he went to the play and ground. He talked to friends in grounds. On the next day, he discussed with the geography teacher on project work. ಸೊ ಡಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿಯವರೆಗೆ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ನೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಚಾನಲ್ ಆಗಿರುವ ABG ಸ್ಪೋಕನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಸ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಆಗಿ. ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆದರೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಲೈಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಾ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.